Welcome to Geeks Corner. I'm Mr. Daps.
I'm Katie.
The word in Irish Gaelic for life is saoil. The word in Irish Gaelic for music is siúl. They are the two closest pronunciation words in the language.
I love that.
Huh. Cool.
The more you know. I feel like that'd be a very difficult language to learn.
It's extremely difficult.
Yeah.
It's a Proto-Germanic base, which means that it's completely different than anything anglicized.
Wait, are you just saying we got
bonkers.
2 facts tonight?
Yes, well, that's a tertiary fact connected to the original fact.
It's true.
Well done, sir. That's exciting. Let's make sure our sound is working because we do not have a producer tonight. And who are
Here,
you?
I'm going to test it real quick. And I'm Cameron. Use the hashtag Geeks
hear
Corner
us.
to
We're
talk
good.
at us on the Twitter, because that's something you can do while social distancing. Notice our distance.
We're trying that. Like we're seeing how that works. We're staying
You
very
jump to
far
the
away
left
from
and
each
you
other.
Shake that hand, and you jump to the right
It
and
sounds
you shake
different,
that
doesn't
hand.
it? Isn't this kind of a weird experience,
Meet new
guys?
friends, tie that yarn. That's how you do the scarn.
Was that Michael?
Yeah. So
Okay.
I was doing social
I was like,
distancing
I feel
by
like
doing
that's the
scarn.
Michael. Yeah, okay, that's the
it's-
Office reference.
It's threat level midnight. It's his dance that he does at the end.
Threat
But
level midnight.
threat level what? Midnight. Threat level who? Michael Scarn. But see, I can do this. And I
Wouldn't
don't
it be
touch
fun
anyone's
if we
hand.
could get that script, like the entire script,
Yes.
and then we could voice act it?
That'd be so bad.
I feel like I don't know who would play each role, but it'd be fun. We'll think about this and see what we can do with it.
It's a fun little quarantine.
It's an Office thing,
project.
Cameron. When you get further on, beyond what was it, the
The
first
Office
3
is a
episodes?
television show.
Yeah.
Have you said you watched a few
I
episodes,
watched a
right?
few episodes.
It's
Okay.
an American television program that was adapted from.
Where this is coming from is 2 years ago for New Year's Eve, we played the Office trivia, and Cameron won without having seen the Office.
Because he knew how to play the game.
Yes.
And that's what mattered. It didn't really matter how much trivia you knew. You had to know how to play the game.
play the game. He did, and he did it well. It was very fun.
Much better than good old Star Wars Clue.
That didn't
That
go
was
so well either.
aggressive.
That was fun though. All right, it is St. Patrick's Day, so we are dressed in our St. Patrick's Day best, and
Cameron's wearing a kilt.
Yeah, you can't see it.
You can't see it.
I just realized that didn't work so well on camera, did it?
I'm also wearing a vest. You can see that.
He's wearing a vest.
That is true. So St. Patrick's Day, what is your favorite St. Patrick's Day movie?
Oh, probably.
If it's on Disney Plus, go even further because then you have 2 options.
Yeah, I do like Luck of the Irish. I
Yeah.
grew up with that one because the phrase "Saints preserve us, I am getting shorter" has been stuck in my head since I saw the movie as a
In
kid.
2001.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just
Okay.
on loop, and I wanted that kid's spiky hair.
Yeah.
Also, the main villain of
Did you
that,
want his ears also, or?
no.
Okay.
The main villain from that is one of the main actors in Psych. And seeing Psych later in life, it bothered me so much because I knew him, and it was because he was not using his admittedly fake Irish accent in the show. Then finally I connected it in one of the episodes. He does an Irish accent. It was like, you know when Jimmy Neutron does the brain blast
Oh,
thing?
absolutely, I do.
I just went, I know. I know what this is from. That's
So,
all.
Luck of the Irish.
Mine would also be Luck of the Irish. I actually watched it today.
Okay, and I like Darby O'Gill.
Yeah.
You chose
no.
the old one?
I
No
did.
way!
No,
What a
wait, we
shocker,
chose the
I
decom?
know.
No, that doesn't seem right.
This is where you actually see our age differences come to life. Is some of us grew up with Sean Connery,
I was gonna say you're not
And-
that much my elder, though.
but I'm just enough that.
I'm 12.
And a half.
Yeah. I'm almost 13.
But like by 2001, I was living on my own and didn't have enough money for cable, so I totally missed Luck of the Irish. Whereas pre 2001,
I was gonna say
I had cable up till 1999 when I graduated, and then it was like out of luck.
2001,
I can't afford
I
TV.
was 4.5.
You're welcome.
I mean, it was pretty rough for him when he moved out. His parents had a massive 6-inch screen.
Black and white and everything.
It was black. Yeah, that's right.
It's the kind of TV you turn it on and you hear the hum before you see the picture for about 5 seconds.
That was my best friend's grandparents had one of those though, and that was one of the coolest things. They also had a what's the piano that you do the pedals?
Most pianos?
No, like you literally it has the reel of No, it has the reel of
Did you say
paper.
Calliope? That's what I was thinking.
No, it's the player piano.
Player piano. Oh, yes.
Player piano. We had my best friend grandparents, and we would spend hours sitting there taking turns doing the pedals because they had tons of songs out in the middle of the woods in Minnesota. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
My memories.
The piano was just in the middle of the woods.
No,
Have you seen the episode of Bob's
the house
Burgers in the
was.
Yes.
It was great.
Hello, Gene.
Yes, that was the piano.
Yes.
Mike is with me about Darby O'Gill.
Okay.
Nobody else has said anything, so I think.
So we all assume they're Team Luck of the Irish.
Sound in internet.
Mary Penguin actually likes Luck of the Irish also.
Penguin.
There's also a fun thing to recognize on St. Patrick's Day, which is the Little Man of Disneyland.
Yeah.
Which, ironically, I was realizing today as I was writing about it, was my introduction to Disneyland.
Really?
So when I
Is the
was
Golden
a
Book?
very little kid, my grandmother would read me that golden book about the Little Man of Disneyland. And I knew who Mickey and Donald and all the gang was. I didn't know what Disneyland was, other than what they said in the book. And I realized that was before I'd ever been to Disneyland. And until I actually showed up to Disneyland, I really had no concept of what it was. And that was 6-year-old by then, as opposed to like 4, 3, or 2 when I was reading this book with Grandma. And so it was kind of a fun memory to look back at that and write that blog today. Do you guys have any thoughts on this one? You know where it is, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
To the right of Indiana Jones, on one of the larger trees near the entrance, on
Yes.
the backside as though you were exiting the attraction.
Correct.
Yes.
Where it is now. Originally, it was over by Jungle Cruise, by the
Oh, is
exit.
I mean, that makes sense.
I didn't know that.
But when they expanded it, he lost his place.
I was gonna say, because then,
Bummer.
Indiana Jones had to come in with a cursed temple and all.
And then he drank the waters of Fangorn for us and expanded himself as well.
And we might just blame this on Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson because he's got the
I do
Jungle
for most
Cruise.
things.
He's got the Jungle Cruise movie coming out later this
Yeah.
year, so maybe it was his fault. I don't know.
Probably.
That Tree of Life thing. Was that in the last week? That trailer? I didn't even put this in the show because there
It's
was
been
so
a
much.
week, man.
We talked about that.
We
last
did talk
week.
about it last week. I
That
can't
came out
remember.
last Tuesday.
So it's been an insane week. If you talked to us last Thursday, we would have thought it's going to be like, it could be a weird week, but we'll see what happens. And now every Disney theme park in the world is closed.
Yeah, we left Geeks Corner Tuesday night being like, all right, guys, see you next week. It'll be great. And then Thursday, we all went, wait, do you guys think this could be a thing?
Is this going to turn it? And then
by
it
the
was
end of
suddenly
Thursday night, we were like,
which I just have to give credit where credit is due, is we have a fantastic team here at DAPS Magic because stories kept coming out over the weekend. And literally, I was texting random people on the team like, hey, can you write this one? Hey, can you write that one? And people were stepping up and doing it. It was great. And I know everybody's dealing with their own things, but they all were there to get the stories out to people. And that was pretty cool, I thought. So, Disneyland is closed. Downtown Disney is closed. Walt Disney World is closed. All of the hotels will be closed by the end of the week.
Disney Springs.
Disney Springs will be is closed now.
All Disney stores.
All Disney stores are closed.
Disneyland Paris.
Disneyland Paris is closed. Tokyo Disney is closed. Shanghai Disney is closed. Hong Kong Disneyland is closed. There are 0.
Alani?
That is the one I have not been able to get information on.
And
from what I can tell, it's still open.
Because to my understanding, Hawaii is just kind of in a permanent state of quarantine from the continental United States. And then, they have one big quarantine and then also 7 mini quarantines.
That's how I like to refer to the islands. Mini quarantines.
Yeah, but basically, they're pretty sealed down on things coming in. So I don't think that they've had it too bad over there.
It'll be interesting. Like, from what I can tell, that actually is the only Disney resort that's still open.
Which is wild.
And I've been following. I looked yesterday. I haven't looked today. But the last I saw, it was still open. They haven't done any updates anywhere.
Yeah.
It's not on their website. It's not on their social media. So, who
It's
knows?
crazy.
Maybe they just disappeared and they went off into space with E.T.
And speaking as somebody who works in social media intimately, if you haven't seen anything, that means that there are a lot of very nervous people standing around going, do I?
Is
Do I
it?
hit the
Is
button?
it?
What?
How about
Do I hit
now?
the button?
Do we do it now? Yeah.
Mm.
Cameron and I both work in the world of PR, and there are, for every tweet that goes out, there's a conversation that was probably way more in depth and involved than needed be talking about said tweet on if it should go out and what it should say.
Yeah, 280 characters normally doesn't need 5 people, but...
It's a picture of a cat. It says #Catterday. There was a 3-hour-long conversation.
But what does that mean for us as an organization?
What does our branding have to say about Catterday?
What are we saying to the world?
Why
How
are we
leading
involving
them?
ourselves in Catterday?
Anyway, everything is closed. It's all closed. Like, it's kind of... This is a once-in-a-lifetime thing. This will be historic. This will go down in history books.
Yeah.
And it's weird.
It's weird. It's
Like,
super
we
weird.
have zero clue. I don't think it's opening April 1st, like they say. I will be shocked if mid-April
Open
would be our
speculation.
best
So
bet.
my comparative timeline for this is we are starting to see recession in viral outbreak in the areas that were hit initially, meaning that is our comparative timeline.
Yeah.
If things are followed roughly as well or better than those locations. That being said, most locations are not reacting in the same way that some of the provinces in China reacted, which is to say admirably. I think it's going to extend a while as well.
Or proactively.
Proactively is a
I
very
think that's
good word, yeah.
that's a good word to put.
Because what we saw in China and the reason why we're seeing Shanghai Disneyland Resort begin phased reopening is because there was an entire shutdown where like no one was allowed to leave, and there was sanitization of the entire like cities, and that's what happened there. That is not happening here. There are people still going outside. Everything is still open. If we go through the CDC's recommendation of 8 weeks currently of 10 people
Mother's Day.
or less, yeah, we're looking at Mother's Day.
So we will see what happens. Good news is we can go outside.
Yeah,
We can see the sun.
honestly,
It'll be great.
We can
And,
fresh air.
And
Also,
the good thing
our pets
is
are experiencing maximum levels of people being home right now.
They
which
love it,
they win.
and they are not at risk, which is a great thing.
So
The other great thing is we live on the internet.
Yeah.
And
I was going to say, and to speak to that point, the World Health Organization is actually the one that confirmed that canines cannot carry the virus.
yeah,
So who let the dogs out?
we really should have let the dog in tonight, huh? We could have had Tiana on the table again. That was fun.
True.
I don't want her on the table.
She loves it so much. She's such a happy.
The dog
she's
likes
like
to be tall.
she's like a little Ewok.
She is.
She just
I like to think the inner monologue, and I feel like putting tea on the table in her head is just, and no rise up, around, shake, no rise up.
Yeah, that's very.
I like to
It's
take
true.
it around.
I like to imagine that even though she's very excited, she's just very calm. She's like, "Yes, I'm on the table. Here
So
I am on the table."
interesting thing. Obviously, the parks, resorts are all closed down.
Yes.
What we learned today is that the construction has also closed down in Florida, and to me that's an interest. Like, that's almost more interesting than the parks closing, because they have a 50th anniversary coming up, and so they've got attractions they want to open. Like, to me, that's almost the bigger story in some ways, and this might be the biggest story that we ever cover.
Yeah.
And but it's like, I'm assuming, and this is without any confirmation of any type or any kind, is that if this is happening in Florida, we're supposed to have Avengers Campus open on July 18th. Marveland. Yeah. Can you say it with an Irish accent, please?
Marveland.
Thank you. I am curious to see how the ripple effect impact of this goes for months, if not years, because I actually think this is going to be a really harsh, like, we're going to hit really hard, but then it's not going to last super long because people are now taking it seriously. And it'll be interesting to see what that ripple effect is. And in the bigger question I have, and you can make a guess if you want, is how does this impact the 50th anniversary of Walt Disney World?
So
21.
The really funny thing was that everyone was speculating because they have just begun castle painting for Cinderella Castle, like 2 weeks
So it's
ago.
like every paint job I've ever done where we don't finish and we're like, hey, I need help.
But it's
Yeah, but how many of your paint jobs have scumble involved in them? Like,
but it was really funny because everyone
used an N-word, scumble.
assumed
You'd get a card if I had one.
that the painting was going to be finished when the parks reopened, and now they're just kind of half painted, and they said, okay, everyone take your cranes down, which I think that is going to not necessarily like I don't think that the paint job is what's going to negatively affect
You're
the
right.
50th.
They're going to paint it purple now.
But I feel like if they had a schedule for that and they get behind, that puts them
What
behind.
else is it going to hit?
Exactly.
Yep.
And those crews are probably going to be repurposed to sprucing up other parts of Magic Kingdom that might not necessarily get it because this is delayed.
I've got an easy fix.
Us paint it.
Once it opens back up,
Duct tape.
dress the construction workers in magical map gear.
There you
Perfect.
go. Totally,
It's a
totally
show
fine. That's
Yeah,
good.
show
Make it
element.
part of the show. The other thing that's changed, that's getting pushed back, is Black Widow and Mulan have both been pushed back to an unknown date. Any predictions here?
Late fall.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
I think they're gonna skip the summer blockbusters as well.
And I think
that's
they're going to
my
go to
logic.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah, they're gonna push it to a time where these movies have a chance of making maximum profits.
Mm-hmm.
They're not blockbusters, at least they're not being positioned as such.
Yeah.
At least in the action blockbuster style. Even though I think Mulan is going to qualify for that.
Yeah.
From what I understand, the fighting sequences in it are gorgeous, but that's the way they're
I've heard
positioning
good
them.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The way they're positioning them, I agree. It's probably going to be a mid to late fall release.
I don't think they're going to go as far as Fast 9 did because Fast 9 pushed back 11 months. But I just don't see them releasing in summer. I feel like it's definitely going to be a Thanksgiving break type movie where they don't want to take it to Christmas, but I feel like they'll probably put it in.
What's their Christmas
I was gonna
release?
say-
Because they have 15 more movies that are supposed
I
to come
was
out
about
before
to
the end of the
say-
year. And so right off the top of my head, that's going to come up into conflict with West Side Story, which they're still promoting as coming out at that time. You're going to come up against James Bond. You're going to come up against... There's a lot of big movies coming out that are not Disney necessarily at the end of the year. The big risk to me is not it's not from a when should you release the next Marvel movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's what else is being released at the same time that's going to take that space. And how many movies do you have in production that also need to get out so you can get the next movies for 2021 in production? Or do you just push everything back?
But that's the other issue is that I know AMC movie theaters just announced they're closing for the next 8 to 12 weeks.
Yep.
And that's not just AMC theaters. That's a great deal of movie theaters. AMC is taking note from other theaters' books.
Yeah, they actually were behind the game. Regal went first.
Yeah, Regal went first. But I think that no matter what decision anyone makes, you're going to see this giant influx in movies in the next, I'm going to say 12 weeks.
So here's the next question, though, that comes right in with this. Is Universal is going to go straight to digital download. You can spend $20 and you can get basically 2.5-3 days to watch this film. So you're not getting to keep it.
Yes.
From what I understand, is this correct?
Yeah,
From
from
how
what I've read.
So it's a 3-day preview window that you can watch the movie.
So this is uncharted territory, and I think two things. One, Universal was willing to take the risk because this is a new model that is going to drastically affect how we consume movies in the future. Because depending on how this test goes, I think it'll have effects much beyond the virus.
I agree.
Don't you find it interesting too that Bob Iger was the one who initially basically spoke this into being years ago? Like he's talked about this for years.
And I think that was Universal's logic is they're trying to jump the gun and be the first to do this.
Yep.
Yeah.
But they've set Disney up for extreme success in that Universal's released this program, and Disney, much like Apple does for the technology
they can watch
industry,
it happen.
They watch it happen, see what works, what doesn't, and then they're going to come out and say something that's, if the model works completely, they'll do the exact same thing at a slightly lesser cost, or they will see that particular setup does not work and figure out a way to make it more accessible.
You'll see it on Disney Plus or something. Yeah, I actually think you're right, and I think Disney tested the waters this last weekend by releasing Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker and Frozen 2 early on their 2 different platforms.
See what the response is,
So you could spend the money early to get Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker on digital download, so $20 also, which is kind of crazy to think you can get the movie and all the bonus features for $20, or that's what we'll be talking about for seeing an opening weekend for Universal. But then they also threw Frozen 2 out early on Disney Plus, and I actually think, as much as that was about quarantines and counterbalancing the challenges that come with closing parks, I think that was as much about finding out what kind of momentum that gets for these streaming services. And if you put, especially Rise of Skywalker, if we put this on for money early, will people run at it and
that's
spend the money?
The dirty business pants that you have to put on, and I'm not wearing any. Tell you that
Because again,
well played.
the pants you have to put on, and you have to have this perspective, is that this is an opportunity. It seems really callous to say it.
That's 100% an opportunity.
And because there's a lot of human life being affected right now, but it is an opportunity. Anytime there's great strife or unrest, it gives an opportunity for change, simply because you get to try things differently. And if it works, great, you have a new model moving forward. If it doesn't work, great, you can blame it on the change that was happening at the same time.
And it's just a fascinating time. Like, we're going to see a new normal coming out of this that we've never expected, that we've never seen. For all we know, Geeks Corner will be completely different when we come out of this.
We're going to be behind a paywall.
No, we won't. I don't like that idea. But
we're actually a DLC.
But
if you'd like the next 20 minutes of this episode.
But my point being is this is going to fundamentally change how we consume media.
See the texture packs they put on us.
I can't wait to see the tweets.
Social distancing.
I'm so sorry.
Right.
I'm so sorry.
We're having such a good discussion. Yeah. You okay there? Okay. But it's going to fundamentally change how we consume media. It's going to fundamentally change how we go to restaurants, how we go to theme parks. Like, all of that's going to be different when we come out of here.
Soon they will invite these, like, really cool ovally chairs that we can sit in and consume the media in, which will move on spindles. Everything will be automated. And then we'll go into space.
I was going to say, we can just wear spacesuits. That'd be fine, too, right?
Wally.
It's Wally.
It's Wally.
It's Wally. Wow.
By and large, is going to send us all to space.
A subsidiary of Johnnycom.
Yeah.
There we go. Also, for those of you that haven't gotten it yet, Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker is available in book form. I'm going to read it. I've done my best to avoid the spoilers that have been all over the place. This is the point where I'm going to jump on this box again, soapbox, which I think you guys will join
jump
me.
On the box?
Do not put spoilers in your headlines.
Oh, yeah, don't do that.
It's
if
lazy.
I see it again next week, I'm going to call out the websites that are doing it because it's inappropriate. It's not cool.
So here's the thing.
Yes.
Is that last week you said, I'm going to be nice and not call out the website.
I'm getting to my point.
Everyone begged you to do it.
I know.
You're doing this, you're teasing. You're teasing them.
Mr. Dapp said, try me.
Yeah.
Mr.
Dapp said, bet.
My point being is it doesn't do anybody any good to put the spoiler
It's
in.
journalism, as you said.
It does sensationalism. It's flash in the pan. It is lazy, and it means that your content is not good enough to survive by itself.
And to be honest, I've clicked on the link just out of sheer frustration, and you're right. It's not good writing.
Yeah.
It's not.
And I'm not the greatest writer in the world, but at least I don't have to put a spoiler in my headline to ruin it for people.
If you put a spoiler...
And I will admit, especially in this time where we're all stuck at home, and like Murray and I have been watching Star Trek Picard as often as we can. Like, we're watching all the episodes together, but sometimes when we can't get together, it means we have to wait an extra week to watch 2 episodes together. There should be at least a 2-week moratorium on, like, at the very least, wait 2 weeks before you start doing spoilers. Because you're ruining it for people, and I will admit I had a major plot point spoiled for me on Picard, and it's just not cool.
To be fair, and also to say something about the inner workings of DAPS Magic, we would not put Baby Yoda in our headlines for a month.
Right.
We were very careful. We had very in-depth discussions about, are we allowed to use pictures of the child? Can we say Baby Yoda? What do we say in headlines?
We were trying to really be respectful of people who were viewing The Mandalorian or weren't viewing it yet and were waiting to catch up. And I just think it's good. It's a good way to write, is not give away thing. And if you're gonna do a spoiler, you have to give every person the opportunity to opt out and not be spoiled.
Which is why we do that.
Wow, that went way longer than I expected. There's a whole 2 minutes.
Rant over.
That was a whole 2 minutes, according to producer Christina. She's giving me looks now. You know what? Of all of our producers that we've had, which I feel like since she's done them, like, this is your 3rd time?
Yeah,
third time. I feel like that makes you you're an actual producer now, because you kind of know what you're doing. But my point being is, you know how I always make the joke about the old Late Night with Conan O'Brien
Never.
producer?
I've never heard you make that joke.
She
before.
is the closest to it because she's standing back there and she's like,
She is. It's true. It's so funny. I love it.
but she doesn't want to get too loud or too involved with the show. Whereas some of our other producers are very vocal, and that's fine.
Tyler.
But
you've pointed out the two different kinds of producers. So Mr. Daps and I have been very fortunate. Actually, all of us have been very fortunate to work among people that work behind the scenes on
Yes.
different size productions. Some
or
of them
maybe
very
produce
large.
some things.
Yeah.
Yes,
And there are two energies.
Yeah.
that is true.
It's either chill, the show is going to work out just fine. I might signal things as needed, or running laps.
Yeah.
That's the other one. And guess which one's more fun to work with?
Depends on the day. So I feel like we should end the show with a PSA, don't you?
Yes. Yes, we should.
This is the time of year, time of life, time of history where you really need to be diligent, you need to be focused, you need to practice, you need to become an expert at washing your hands.
Wash your hands.
Wasn't that a good intro?
Yeah.
You didn't know where I was going, did you?
I was so scared.
I kept watching Katie out of the corner of my eye, and she's getting more and more like this.
Because sometimes, here's a little thing you might not know about Geeks Corner. This never happens. Sometimes Mr. Daps knows what's going on, and Cameron knows what's going on, and conveniently, Katie does not know what's going on. I thought this was one of those times.
Anyway, there are lots of songs, poems,
You can also count.
counting that can help you get through the amount of time, which is technically 20 seconds,
Okay.
to wash your hands.
20 seconds.
So I would like to suggest
Okay.
that each of us come up with a best practice for what you should say,
You've all
sing,
heard the happy
do,
birthday twice, that kind of thing. That's boring.
or like I'm going to suggest Star Trek's opening space,
That's literally the one I have.
the
prepped.
Final Frontier.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
that's...
These are the
don't
voyages
start it yet. I haven't started the timer
of
yet.
the Starship Enterprise.
Yeah, I can't go back.
I'm just saying that's 20 seconds. Now it's your turn.
Okay.
Well, we're running out of time anyway, so Cameron, you go, and then Katie goes.
TNG version specifically times out. I believe,
Can you do it
22
with the
seconds.
accent, please?
I can't do Picard.
Can you try? 'Cause
No.
it'll make people so happy.
No.
In these times that are so
No, that's
difficult.
I will do it, but I'm not going to do the accent.
The Final
Alright.
Frontier. That's
Okay.
my...
Katie will do
That's
Picard.
my Picard.
All right,
I
let's see.
don't
Do you
know.
know the whole intro at this point?
No.
Can you do the whole
Can
intro?
you please do it with
No.
Yes.
Picard? Do it with Picard.
Do you know the words? At least?
No.
The internet wants you to do it with
I know
Picard.
Space,
I'm
the
getting
Final Frontier.
tweets.
These are the
You know-
voyages.
you know- Okay, go. Ready?
No.
Let's time it. I think it's 22
All right,
seconds.
your best Picard. Go.
Space. The final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise. Its continuing mission to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no one has gone before. 22.
Well done, Sarah. All right, what's yours?
You have to get the French horn. You have to hear the French horns in your head.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it doesn't count.
That was very good. So use that. What? You don't have anything?
Oh,
no.
I've got it. I've got one. I've got one
Are you
more.
gonna save Katie?
Yes, I've got one more.
What is
Okay.
it?
20 seconds ends on well. Okay.
Okay.
Somebody once told me the world is gonna
That's
roll
not where I
me.
thought it was gonna go.
Ain't the sharpest tool in the shed. She was looking kinda dumb with her finger and her thumb in the shape of an L on her forehead.
Well, the years were coming.
Just a second late, but we were probably rushing. You should go to thegeekscorner.com. That is thegeekscorner.com. Find other things that are 20 seconds long, maybe segments from this show, and find out if you can wash your hands to them.
Shoot at dapsmagic.com. Check out all the Disney news as it happens, because let me tell you, the news starts coming and it don't stop coming.
Oh.
That was good.
Subscribe to our mailing list. Find our Patreon.
And subscribe to this YouTube channel because we actually do have quite the backlog of videos that we were
There's a lot
posting.
coming.
And if we run out of those, we will just make stuff up. We've got lots of ideas.
We're gonna do recreations of attractions.
And Geeks
So,
Corner episodes.
Spray bottle, Splash Mountain.
Also Dungeons and Dragons, but don't bring that up.
All that stuff too. Anyway, we hope you have a fantastic week. Wash your hands. Stay safe. Stay distant from people. Don't get in each other's faces. But, keep it safe, and we'll get through this. And we look forward to geeking out with you again next week. But that is all the time we have for you this week, so we will see you around the corner.
Bye.